New York City, April 1983. The heavy metal underground was about to explode, and at the center of the blast zone was Metallica. They were living in a squalid rehearsal space called the Music Building in Queens, sleeping on the floor, surviving on cheap vodka and cold cuts. At this moment, they were the most dangerous band in the world. But the danger wasn't just in the music, it was in the room. The band had two alpha males. On one side, you had James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich, the focused, driven architects. On the other, you had Dave Mustaine, the lead guitarist. Dave was the spark. He was the one talking to the crowd, playing the fastest riffs and bringing the aggression. But when Dave drank, he became a different person. He was violent, unpredictable, and destructive. The band nickname was Alcoholica for a reason, but Dave took it too far. Tensions reached a boiling point when Dave allegedly poured beer into the bass player's pickups, or kicked a dog, depending on who you ask. The specific incident didn't matter anymore. The bond was broken. The morning of April 11th, 1983, is a date that lives in infamy. Dave woke up hungover, wrapped in a blanket on the floor of the rehearsal space. He expected another day of writing history. Instead, he saw James, Lars, and Cliff Burton standing over him. They didn't look angry. They looked cold. There was no band meeting, no intervention, no three strikes policy. Lars simply said, "You're out." Dave, stunned, asked, "What time is my flight?" They handed him a bus ticket and said, "You're on the bus. It leaves in an hour." They had already packed his gear. They drove him to the Port Authority bus terminal in silence. As Dave stood there with his guitar case and a plastic bag of clothes, he asked, "When does the plane leave?" They just pointed at the Greyhound. It was a ruthless business decision. Metallica cut off a limb to save the body. They replaced him with Kirk Hammett that same afternoon. The efficiency was terrifying. This is the most important journey in heavy metal history. Dave Mustaine sat on a Greyhound bus for 4 days and 4 nights, New York to Los Angeles. He had no food, no money, and a hangover that felt like a sledgehammer. He watched the cornfields of America roll by, seething with rage. He didn't cry. He plotted. He sat in the back of the bus and found a discarded handbill from Senator Alan Cranston lying on the floor. He flipped it over and started writing lyrics on the back. He read a line on the handbill about the arsenal of Megadeth, a term for nuclear stockpiles. A light bulb went off. He vowed right there, "I'm not just going to start a new band. I'm going to start a band that is faster, heavier, and more technical than Metallica. I want them to see me everywhere." By the time the bus pulled into California, the concept for Megadeth was born. The spite was the fuel. Dave arrived with a mission. The war had just begun. When Dave got back to LA, he realized something painful. Metallica was using his riffs. On their debut album, Kill 'Em All, Dave Mustaine has writing credits on 4 songs. The most famous battleground was a riff Dave wrote called The Mechanics. It was played at blistering speed. Metallica took that riff, slowed it down, added a melodic midsection, and called it The Four Horsemen. It became a classic. Dave heard it and went nuclear. For his new band, Megadeth, he recorded the original version, Mechanics, but he played it twice as fast just to prove he could. It was a musical middle finger. He recruited jazz fusion musicians like Gar Samuelson and Chris Poland because normal metal drummers couldn't keep up with the tempo he wanted. If Metallica was a sledgehammer, Megadeth was a scalpel. The war for thrash supremacy was now a technical arms race. For the next decade, the big four of thrash metal was dominated by this Cold War. It was an arms race. Metallica released Master of Puppets. Megadeth responded with Peace Sells. But who's buying? Metallica released the Black Album and conquered the radio. Megadeth released Rust in Peace and conquered the guitar purists. Fans picked sides like it was a sports rivalry. You were either a Metallica guy or a Megadeth guy. But here is the truth that neither side wanted to admit. The rivalry made both bands better. Without the pressure of Megadeth nipping at their heels, maybe Metallica gets lazy. Without the chip on his shoulder, maybe Dave doesn't push the technical limits of the guitar. The friction created the fire. Looking back, the firing of Dave Mustaine wasn't a mistake. It was a necessity. If Dave stays in Metallica, the universe implodes. There was too much ego for one stage. That bus ticket gave us 2 legendary bands instead of 1. It gave us 2 distinct pillars of heavy metal. Decades later, the Big Four finally shared a stage in Sofia, Bulgaria. We saw James Hetfield and Dave Mustaine hugging on stage. The war was over. But make no mistake, the anger on that bus ride in 1983 was the big bang that created the thrash metal universe. Metallica became the biggest band in the world, but Megadeth became the band that kept them honest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives into heavy metal history.